1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8. Israel is a terrorist state. Israel is a fascist state. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8. Israel is a terrorist state. Israel is a fascist state. Netanyahu, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Every time the media lies, another child in Gaza dies. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the sea to the river, Palestine will live forever. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Netanyahu, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Every time the media lies, another child in Gaza dies. There is only one solution. Intifada revolution. Intifada, intifada. Long live the people of Gaza. Long live the intifada. Shukran, guys. We will begin shortly.
That's not me singing. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, Mulweni. I'm Yusuf Chikta. I am the coordinator of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. But today we are going to bear witness to the genocide in Palestine, the genocide perpetrated by the Israelis. We're going to bear witness to the inaction of the world in genocide that is being live streamed, and apartheid that is being committed, and ethnic cleansing that is being conducted. You know, there is an assault on journalists all over the world. The journalists have been interrogated for terrorism trials for doing the work of journalism. And one of the big issues around when privileged classes want to do something, they invent myths and they construct narratives around what they are doing to justify what they are doing. And we are very grateful that Salam Media has brought out Youmna El-Sayed today to come and tell us firsthand what is taking place over there. We are at a point, at a moment in our history where we want to change the narrative, and the narrative is changing. We've reached a certain tipping point on that. I've said we want to bear witness to that. We're also bearing witness to the inaction of many of us, especially in South Africa, where we hold ourselves accountable. South Africa is doing a great job at the International Court of Justice, a fantastic job, and we applaud them for doing that. And what we are saying and what we are demanding and what we are going to do from here onwards, to tell them to match that courage and that boldness that they're displaying at the international court, to domesticate it in South Africa so that we can hold the Zionists accountable from this part of the world. We are wondering what has happened to the legislature's motion that Israel must be kicked out of South Africa. Israel, we want to impose an arms trade. We want to impose a sports boycott. We want to impose that there is no trade between Israel and South Africa and to stop the coal fueling the genocide over there. We want to give effect to the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice declaring Israel an apartheid state because of its activities in the West Bank and in the occupied territories. And we want to hold them into account for that. We brought you out on this beautiful spring day to bear testimony to that. We are going, this is the beginning of a new wave of protest, a rolling mass action that we're going to embark upon. We are tired of the inaction. We are calling for a great march in Cape Town on the 5th of October, and we are asking you to be there so we can tell the South African government to tighten the laws, to put Israel in a vice grip. And down here, it's such a beautiful day, but it's a beast down here, the beast of the Zionist network. And we want to hold them to account, for them to stop. They must stop sending their people and recruiting in South Africa. They must stop sending money to the genocidal regime over there. So that as an introductory remarks, I want to start off with. I want to thank Salam Media for doing all the background work. It only looks as if Wadi is sitting there and doing nothing, but he did an enormous amount of work bringing Salam Media Foundation, bringing people across so that this event is possible and so that we can continue and catalyze all our actions. Let us organize now. I was wondering whether Chef Gabriel's is here. Is there anybody else who will be like to speak on behalf of Al-Quds Foundation or MJC? Who is, did I see Appleby here? Shuaib Appleby, can you remember a dua or two for us, for you to recite it here? We were expecting Sheikh Gabriel's. And what better person than Sheikh Appleby to come and do it for us? He's a young man from this area. In his youth, he was a rugby player, I think, and he used to run much faster.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. آمين. وصلي اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
So we have in the preparations for our march, for a renewal of our activities, we were very busy during just up to the elections. And the elections, 40% of the population are so discontented with what is happening here that they abstain from the elections. And so we have a situation now that we must complement the results of the elections with protest action. And we are combined in an organization for the 5th of October, marking, today is 330 days, I think, of the genocide in Gaza. And this genocide is being extended. And so we have an amalgamation of several groups because we want to coordinate, we want to collaborate, and we want to consolidate our gains and heighten what we've achieved so far. So the MJC and Al-Quds Foundation are an important partner in that. The media is an important partner in that. And the South African Jews for a Free Palestine are an important partner in that. And if only we can have Megan coming to the fore and extending some well wishes and giving her views around the current status of affairs. And Megan, you've learned from TikToks a strong anti-Zionist stance, dispelling the notion that Zionism equates Judaism.
You've stolen my speech. Hello, my name is Megan. I'm a South African. I am a Jew. I'm an anti-Zionist. And I stand here to share one single message with you. Zionism is anti-Jewish. Zionism is anti-everything that Judaism stands for. And the thing that I want to say and remind people of is that I am safe here. I am safe in South Africa. I'm more safe than a lot of other people in South Africa. And I would not be safe in occupied Palestine because Zionism is anti-Jewish. That's all.
That's a message that we want to instill in that we are standing for human rights, for social justice, for everybody from the river to the sea. So, Uzair, I was hoping that you would sound now to say that in the slogan. Where is Uzair? Uzair has abandoned. We come and say that what does that slogan mean, and what can you rally a little bit us up around that?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good morning, everybody. My name is Zaid. As I said before, I'm from Cape Town Intifada, but more likely a South African youth, South African citizen, and South African activist. From the river to the sea, of course, explains that from the river of Jordan Sea, from the river of the Jordan Sea, sorry, to, of course, right around Al-Sham, Palestine, it will be free, and there will not be a plan for greater Israel. We are 329 days into the genocide. We have 35 days to this march to explain to Israel that we are not going to accept their funding. We're not going to accept South Africa funding them. We're not going to accept South Africa sending coal to Israel. We are going to take a stand, especially as the youth of South Africa. We are going to mean when we say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Shukran.
Thank you, Zaid. And Megan, thank you very much for that speech. It's a profound statement that she has made. We are saying that Zionism is to Judaism like ISIS is to Islam, like the Lord Resistance Army is to Christianity. And we reject the conflation of Zionism with Judaism. We as Palestinians are very proud of the Muslims, of the Jews, of the Christians. We cannot live with any of them as a Palestinian in the Holy Land. And we're going to ensure that Palestine is not a nation state for Jews and Jews alone, but that Palestine is a nation state for everybody who lives in it. So with that, I am, when I grew up, and Alan may look younger than me, but he is considerably of a different generation, especially if you're small. And if it's a small age group, there's a big difference between the two. So I have a very special, we all as South Africans and in the Western Cape in particular, and I'm sure in other parts of the world, a special place in our hearts for Alan. When things were very dark, when the lights went out of South Africa, when you couldn't get people to speak on behalf of us, when you couldn't get people to tell truth and bear witness, Alan, from the stage, from international stages to the platteland, in Cape Town, all over the place, Alan stood up fearlessly. And Alan, evangelie verkondig. What is that? Alan will know how to say it, the truth, the gospel of the truth of the gospel. He spread in political terms to us, and we've never forgotten that. And Alan, we're very grateful for that. And we expect, as we've witnessed over the past couple of days, in bearing your witness, we expect no less from you. We're going to take every breath from you in saying that. Thank you, Alan.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, friends, brothers, and sisters. I'm glad to be here this morning. I must confess that after the elections, when we were hooked-winged into this thing they call the government of national unity, I was afraid that our passion, our enthusiasm for standing up for the people of Palestine might have waned. And it did. So this morning, I'm hoping that you hope with me that what we are seeing here is a reigniting of that essential fight. Because you cannot get away from this truth that Palestine today is the measurement of the integrity of our politics and the authenticity of our faith. If you do not stand with Palestine today, you cannot stand for your God. You cannot speak on behalf of your God, and you have betrayed your faith and you have betrayed God's children. And that's why I am hoping that this morning is a moment for us to pick up again where we left off, and that we will run twice as hard to make up for what has gone in the meantime. Because even though there have been lots of speeches and lots of promises and lots of decisions made by courts and by governments in their legislatures, nothing has changed for the people of Palestine. And the genocide has not stopped. So that means that responsibility to take up that fight again is completely and squarely ours. But let me say just one more thing also. I am so glad, Yumna, that you are here this morning. I am so blessed to be able to meet you and to thank God with all of us that you are not one of the 158 journalists that have been murdered by Israel. I looked again. In April, there was this demonstration in Washington, D.C., where they laid out the vests that journalists wear with the word press on it. I could see the blood on it. There was only something like 115 then. So many more have died. I am so grateful to God that your vest is not among those lying on the ground with blood on it. I'm so blessed to be able to meet you, to look into your face, to see in your eyes, not just the compassion for the suffering of your people, but also that determination, that courage, that what we have learned over the last few months, especially that sumud that you exhibit every time you go in front of that camera to tell the truth about what was happening to your people and how it is being done by those powers in the world who know nothing but death, and how you set an example for us. Thank you for that. Also this week, I was listening to an interview with a young journalist student at Columbia University in New York City. Her name is Miriam Iqbal. I was amazed, and I think that there is a young generation growing up with such insight, with such wisdom, with such courage. It makes me feel that everything we fought for is not in vain after all. But the interviewer asked her, look, I mean, you have been part of the protest for Palestine. You have been harassed. You have been arrested. You have been imprisoned. You have been suspended. Then the university unsuspended you because they found no fault criminally in what you have done. Your only crime was to stand up for Palestine, to say, I will not allow my tax dollars to be used to kill Palestinian children, and I will not allow my university to invest in companies that enable a genocide. That was your crime. So what are you saying now? Will you be able to go back when the schools open next week in September? And she looked at them and she said, all I can tell you is that the students of Columbia University, Students for Justice, will never stop. They can do to us what they will, but we will never stop. And then the interviewer said to her, but are you aware of this thing going around? Multi-billion companies who control what happens not only in universities, but also in politics. They now have a new thing. It's called a hiring blacklist. That means if your name is on a blacklist before, because you have protested for Palestinian justice and freedom, there is a blacklist. That means you will not be hired by any of those companies. Aren't you afraid of your future? Aren't you afraid that you will never have a career? Aren't you afraid that you will be standing on the sidelines of life for the rest of your life? You know what young Miriam said? She said, I understand all of that, but I want to be a journalist with integrity. And she said, I understand all of that, but I cannot remain silent. It is not in me to remain silent. I cannot abide by remaining silent. That is what Yumna has been doing for so long. And that is what I want us to remember today. We have a situation here where we have been lulled into some kind of sleep because the government has gone to the International Court of Justice. Again, like Dr. Yusuf Chitra has said, we applaud that. But we reminded them even then, do not take the glory of the world and don't do something that you can do here in South Africa. The International Court of Justice is a good thing, but it's not in your power what happens there. It's not under your control what happens there. You've got to do the things that's in your power and the things that are under your control. Now, the ICJ is not under our control. The decisions and rulings of those courts not under your power. What Israel does with those outcomes of these decisions is not under your power. What America does, what the other nations of the UN do, even as they pledge to do what they must, namely to take up these decisions and not to have anything to do with aid or assistance for apartheid genocidal Israel. Even if they have that on paper, it's not on our control. It's not in our power. What is in our power is to accept BDS. What is in our power is to shut down this embassy. What is in our power is to stop all trade. What is in our power is to cut all cultural trade. What is in our power is to cut all academic ties. What is in our power is to get those South Africans who go to the IDF, bring them home, put them in prison, let them know you're not killing our children with your guns. That is in your power. Do what is in your power. Don't go to the international state, reap the glory, and you don't do what you can do, what you must do, what South Africa's people are asking you to do. And so we are saying to them, this Frankenstein's monstrosity that they call the government of national unity. The chances that we will even take up those things that are in our power are even less now. You know why? Because in this government of national unity, as they call the DAANC coalition, they are run by the Zionists. It's the Zionists who set the agenda. It's the Zionists who will decide whether we continue or whether we stop. It's the Zionists who have no room in their heart for the suffering they are causing Palestinian people. They will decide, because you do not have a president whose heart is burning for compassion and justice for Palestinian people. That's the truth that we have to face up to. And that's our job. That's our job. That's our job. And we must say to them as clearly as we can, to see silent is beyond us, like young Mariam has told us. To be silent is beyond me. And so whether South Africa remains a name in the international community and not an activist for justice and peace and freedom for Palestine, that is our job, to make sure that that happens. It must be beyond us to be silent, like the students in Columbia University, like the young people across the world, like the Palestinians, even the resistance that is now rising up because of the new invasion into the West Bank. So we're no longer talking about Gaza only. It is now the West Bank. It is now clear that Netanyahu's idea is to have an occupied Palestine from top to bottom, from east to west, from north to south. It's no longer just their business, it's our business. We must say it is beyond me to be silent. When I see that the genocide after almost 1 year has not yet stopped, despite all of the words, it must be beyond us to be silent. When we see that there is now a battle, not just to dodge the bullets, not just to run away from the tanks, not just to hide from the bombs that fall, but to hide from new diseases that have been created by the occupation. That is, we say, it is beyond me to remain silent. I cannot see one child now getting an injection for polio, a thing that we have left behind when I was still a child. Now the Palestinians must fight that. I can only pray to God that God, in God's grace, mercy, and judgment and justice will also understand that that virus that goes around that causes polio, if it is a virus, it cannot be occupied. You cannot make it happen and then hope it doesn't happen to my child. So if they only think about that, maybe. In the meantime, though, for you and me, we cannot afford to be silent. Now, one more thing, and then I'll go sit down. I don't care how much in this government they make in profits from the coal that Glencore and Anglo Gold and Anglo Coal and Tungela are selling to that murderous state. I don't care how much money it makes for them and their families. I don't care how much their greed and their bloodlust is willing to let Palestinians pay just so there can be more money in their bank accounts. I don't care whether they do not care that every time we sell coal to Palestine, we're fueling a genocide. All I'm saying is, if you think that you are going to get away with it, think again, because we will not remain silent. It is beyond us to stay silent on this issue. It is beyond us because we know Palestinian freedom is also our freedom. It's beyond us to remain silent about that. We cannot see children die, and there is not even a doctor to prevent them from dying. Never mind how much money you make, it is beyond us to be silent. We will not stop fighting for Palestinian justice. It is beyond us to be silent. We will not stop until Palestine, from the river to the sea, is actually free and living and alive and an inspiration, as they have always been to all of us, because it is beyond us to be silent. It is beyond us to be silent. It is beyond us to be silent. And Palestine, we shall fight for you as long as we are alive. God bless you all.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Shukran.
Shukran, Uzair, thank you. Uzair, you think you've got good lungs, but the president of the MJC, once he says in our millions, we'll put you to shame now. Come. It gives me great pleasure for a much respected and a much loved president of the Muslim Judicial Council, and we ask that they always be led with wisdom and guidance so that we can fight the injustices of the world, and an appeal from those who are organizing the march of the 5th of November. Let us all unite in bringing these to the attention of the Parliament. Thank you. 5th of October, 5th of October.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Yalla people, the Torah's in Wales, they can't hear you. Free, free Palestine! 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 Takbir! 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 By the millions, by the billions! We are all Palestinians! By the millions, by the billions! We are all Palestinians! Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan everybody. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen. Sayyidina wa nabiyyina wa maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. We want to first of all welcome our sister Al-Ukht Al-Karima, Yumna Al-Sayed. أهلا وسهلا لأجمل مدينة في العالم، ولكن بحضورك أصبحت كيب تاون أجمل من أجمل. I'm telling her our famous saying for the people of Palestine when they come, that we welcome her to the most beautiful city in the world, Cape Town. But by her presence, it is more beautiful. Everybody, I'm only going to do 2 ayat with you because time is limited. Let me start off with after 7th of October. You know, everybody was crazy about 7th of October, and we sit in awe and ask, have you been sleeping all the years? Have you been in a coma? My God, it's 70 years, not 7th October. We're Palestinians. So I was interviewed. And I just want to say this one part. So, they want to make sure they push you into a corner. And the guy asked me, so do you follow Hamas? I told the interviewer, brother, I am Hamas. Cape Town is Hamas. Viva Hamas, viva! Viva Hamas, viva! We support Hamas because Hamas follows the ayah in the Holy Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَقَاتِلُوا الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. Fight those who fight you. Did you think we just turned the cheek and, okay, right, slap the other cheek also? You slap me, I slap you back. If you fight us, we fight you back. And then when he spoke about the land, I said, brother, where do you live? He lives there, I don't want to say names. Lives there in some of the Montague areas. So I said, okay, you live in a flat? Yes. I said, okay, right, tomorrow I'm moving into your flat. Is that right? You out. You are out. He asked me, but what about the Israelis? What about, where's their land? Do you think they have a right to have a land? I said, do you have a right to be a land? But where? Are you talking about the stolen land? Are you talking about the Palestinian land? And he was quiet. I want to end up with the ayah, everybody, that I listened this morning to Sheikh Abdul Basit, and it affected me so much that I have to tell you that. And it's a surah that you know, Surah Al-Infitar, because these are the kinds of things that must stir us, everybody. It must stir us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Infitar, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا السماء انفطرت وإذا الكواكب انتثرت وإذا البحار فجرت وإذا القبور بعثرت علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت. Allahu Akbar. This Holy Quran will speak to you until the day of Yawm Al-Qiyamah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses all of mankind because He's the Lord of mankind. And Allah ta'ala says, when the sky breaks apart and when the stars fall scattering and when the seas are erupted and when the contents of the graves are scattered, a soul will then know what it has put forth and kept back. And here's the crux of what I want to tell you. علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O mankind, what is deceived you concerning your Lord? What is deceived you concerning your Lord, the generous, who created you, proportioned you, balanced you in whatever form He willed as He assembled you. Let us not become lax when it comes, and I'm sure, every time I hear somebody in my family says that I've been blocked by Instagram, I've been blocked by TikTok. Let them block us, and we will continue. But this filthy Zionist is coming down, everybody. The filthy Zionist state of Israel is crumbling, and they are falling. And we want to say to people like Yumna Al-Sayed, may Allah reward you greatly, because you are truly living inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen that indeed my prayer, my salah, and my sacrifices, my life and my death is for Allah, is to Allah Ta'ala. May Allah Ta'ala reward you all greatly. Our shuhada is fi Jannatil Firdaus. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala grant our mujahideen victory. Allah Ta'ala grant shifa to all those that are injured and sick. And Allah Ta'ala make you steadfast in your fight. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
A people united will never ever be defeated. We've heard from the MJC, from the African Jews for a Free Palestine, from the Reverend Alan Busak, all similar messages around how we strive for justice. You've seen, Jose, did you just want to give me a chance to catch my breath?
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. 1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8. Israel is a terrorist state. Israel is a fascist state.
You know, Dr. Busak, you know, the Bible says that one thou shalt not covet. But when I see these young people, I struggle with that commandment. The energy, the voice, it gives us hope for the future. If you cast your eyes that way, right, you'll see a big flag. Do you see it? Or a part of a big flag. It is the biggest flag in the world, the biggest mural in the world. If you come into the Bo-Kaap, in fact, many other parts of South Africa, many other parts of Cape Town, you'll see murals, murals for Gaza, murals for Palestine. And this is not a shabby old chap with paint all over his clothes. He is the cause of those murals. We're very proud of him. Ubaidullah Kirdin. Ubaidullah, do you want to tell us something about how we can disseminate our messages in different forms through your fantastic paintings, please?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ubaidullah Kirdin. I'm 25 years old, and this is Murals for Gaza. So, what is Murals for Gaza? Murals for Gaza is not only just a drive to paint murals, but it forms as a platform for anybody, for the youth, for the elderly, for those who don't know how they can be part for Palestine. It offers a platform for any means of expression. I always tell people that it is only by chance that we have paintbrushes and spray cans in our hands, because if we didn't, we would go to war. You know, murals are a way of expression. They're a way of protesting at all times. And even when you destroy a mural, you are sending a message. So in all, you are for Palestine. And I'm from Bo-Kaap. Bo-Kaap is my home. And I've made it through the teamwork of everybody, every community member, every member for Murals for Gaza, and everybody who decides to come to Bo-Kaap. They are making Murals for Gaza, and we are all making a difference. You know, Bo-Kaap is not only home to the biggest Palestinian mural in the world, but to the highest concentration of Palestinian art in the world as well, and currently in counting. We just want to show our way of expression. And we think that, you know, through doing murals, we are able to express ourselves. We are able to put it on the wall, and we are able to say, let the wall speak. Because if we can't keep doing this day after day, we become exhausted, but our murals talk at all hours of the day. And we at Bo-Kaap, with the position that we are in, alhamdulillah, we are in the tourist center of South Africa, Cape Town. And we always make it, and the same for Murals for Gaza, is that anybody who comes here, from every corner, from every angle, and from every post, if you come to Bo-Kaap, you are for Palestine. You cannot escape it. So that is what we're doing at Murals for Gaza, and we also try to encourage anybody that has any idea to come and put your idea on the wall, because it is here to stay. Oh, my mother's name is Aisha Fiyadin. She's sitting over there.
No, I just want to say that Aisha and his dad have played an instrumental role in shaping a person like this with a conscience like this, and we applaud those who've gone before us in the generation of our consciousness. Thank you. So I've come, you must go now, you can't stand here the whole day. You can either paint the picture of yourself on the wall. There's other people who must speak now. Okay, thank you so much. We're coming to the final stages of what we need to do. And Sheikh Riyad is going to, he's got a function on and we can excuse him a little bit. But we're coming to the last stage and to introduce our guest speaker, Yumna Al-Sayed. To introduce her, we are going to ask Inayat Wadi, a media personality for Salam Media, an anchor person, and Inayat, through the Salam Foundation, has been instrumental in getting people here speaking truth to power and standing, bearing witness to the issues of our time. Inayat, we are delighted to have you here, and Inayat will be introducing Yumna as well.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Takbir. 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 Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I was here in December and I attended two events. Yusuf Chikte talks about the largest flag in the world. And I had the opportunity of attending the Zikr session that had taken place then. And the second event was at Three Anchors Bay. And the one statement I made, and this is testimony to the people of Cape Town, the people of the Western Cape, and your passion, your desire, and your love for the people of Palestine. And the statement I had made at that point in time was, if the liberation of Palestine had to come from South Africa, it would come from none other than Cape Town. And this, brothers and sisters, we know it, we live it, we have been witnessing, we have been watching from the sidelines of the media. But we've also been witnessing close to 11 months of carnage, close to 11 months of brutality, close to 11 months of outrage, of horror that has been unfolding in front of our very own eyes. And we've seen it in the entire land of Palestine, in Al-Quds, in the West Bank, and in Gaza. And this is indisputable because this is an effort to dehumanize a nation. To dehumanize a nation that has suffered oceans of injustice. Every conceivable crime in the world has been committed against the people of Palestine. And we've seen it from economic strangulation, crop destruction, murder, killing of innocent children, babies. And I'm glad we've got members of the media here today, because this morning we'd like to remind members of the media that when you report on numbers, you report on statistics. 40,000, 30,000, 16,000 children. What does it mean? These are numbers. But have we, for a second thought, what lies behind that number? What lies behind that number? And you will hear when my sister Yumna Al-Sayed takes the stage. Behind that number is an unborn fetus in the Shifa hospital, or a dead fetus in the Shifa hospital. Behind that number is a newborn baby. Behind that number is a mother who had hopes for her children, for a future. Behind that number is a brother. Behind that number is a sister. But those numbers mean absolutely nothing if you and I don't take a stand. Those numbers mean absolutely nothing if we don't raise our voices. And we need to be the voices of the voiceless. And often we ask this question, how can this world allow the unleashing of such horror, with such brutality, with all the deprivation, the degradation, the disease? How can the world even look at what is happening? And this, brothers and sisters, we need to think. We cannot be bystanders anymore. We know it's 11 months. Fatigue creeps in. People get tired. The media gets tired. People get tired of protesting. But believe me, in the last 300 and some odd days, in the last 11 months, how many people in Gaza, Yumna, have had even a decent night's sleep? How many people in Gaza have had a decent meal or a warm bath or a shower? Things that we, you and I, all of us take for granted. And this should keep us energized. This should keep us inspired. This should keep us motivated. And at Salam Media, we took this decision. Since October the 7th and long before October the 7th, at the forefront of our struggle as a media will be the cause of Palestine. And this is the reason why we have embraced humanitarian journalism, to humanize the stories, to humanize the suffering of people, because these are just not numbers. And this is what Yumna Al-Sayed has been doing. We've seen the compatibility. We've seen the synergy with having Yumna Al-Sayed in South Africa. And believe me, it's been a long wait. Yumna Al-Sayed hasn't just arrived in South Africa in 2024. Yumna, you've been on our radar since 2021. And here she is today. And throughout this entire tour with Yumna Al-Sayed, it's given us an insight as to who this person is. Many of us have seen Yumna behind that, in front of the camera for a few minutes, talking of a bomb. We've seen Yumna running for cover. We've seen Yumna in a state of shock. But believe me, what we see on our television screens, what we read in the media, is a very, very small percentage of the horrors, the true horrors that lie behind this genocide. And it's given us an opportunity at Salam Media to have an insight into these horrors. And at the same time, it's also given us an opportunity to continue relentlessly, because this is what media should be all about. This is what humanitarian journalism is all about. It's about media advocacy. It's about media activism. And this we need to inculcate within our own media. We've seen the Western media, we've seen the narratives since October the 7th, referring to the Palestinian children as children of darkness, the monsters of Gaza, in the most derogatory terms, human animals. We've seen all of that. And we've also seen the lies. We've seen the lies about the beheading of babies. We've seen the lies of the number of people. And our very own media in this country has been repeating those lies. Within our own parliament, within our own government, we have seen parties like the Freedom Front Plus and the Democratic Alliance repeating those lies over and over again. And it is a shame on these politicians. It is a shame on these politicians to continue with this narrative. And it is our job as the media to debunk those narratives, to expose those lies, to expose their deception. Also, we need to understand that as Yumna Al-Sayed has come to the shores of South Africa, She has been to many other parts around the world. Today, she is here to tell us, to give us a first-hand account. But also at the same time, we need to pay tribute to Yumna's colleagues, the 160 odd, who have passed on, who have been martyred. And listening to Yumna at the very first press conference we had in Joburg, when Yumna spoke so passionately about her colleagues. And these were not just only colleagues, these were her brothers, these were her sisters. And when she speaks of them, when she provides you with that insight, you will truly, truly understand what Yumna has actually gone through. And it is not only about her people, it is about herself. Her husband, Salahuddin, Dr. Salahuddin is here. Her children, the struggles, the sacrifices that she's had to make as a family. And Yumna, we applaud you, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you. And there is no better place to end off this wonderful tour of yours, this journalism tour of yours together with Salam Media than in Cape Town. And I'm sure, Yumna, the audience out here this morning really, really looking forward to you. And again, we want to thank you on behalf of Salam Media. We want to thank the organizers, to Yusuf Chite, to the PSC, the MJC, and all the other organizations who have partnered together with you, Yusuf. We want to thank you for accommodating us for this tour. Without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, stand up for Yumna Al-Sayed.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I stand before you as Youmna El-Sayed, a survivor of the most brutal genocide history of mankind has seen. I stand before you as a journalist and a person who has chosen Gaza to be her nation. Since I came out of Gaza at the end of December, and after 3 months of covering this genocide, I felt that that was the most difficult decision I had to make to leave Gaza at that time. But I was left with only that choice if I wanted my children to survive. In 3 months, we were displaced 6 times. We were shot at in our home. We were kicked out of our home under sniper bullets and tank shells. And then our home was completely leveled to the ground. We had to escape to the south on foot. But this is not just my story or the story of my children. We are 6 members, but I tell you the story of over 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. So when I speak about each and every one of them. The first time we heeded to the first evacuation order by the Israeli army was in mid-October, when over 1 million Palestinians from the north in Gaza City evacuated to the south of Wadi Gaza, thinking that it would be much safer. We went to the south and the bombardments were indiscriminate. They were relentless. And when we say indiscriminate, you might not just know what it means, but it means that any bomb can fall on any home at any time. It means that no place is safe. It means that every time you sleep under the sound of heavy bombardment, because you're just so tired and exhausted, you don't know if you're going to wake up alive the next morning. It means that instead of telling bedtime stories to our children every night. We spoke to them about the bombs and rockets. They asked us, are we going to wake up in the morning? Are we going to be bombed at night? My 8-year-old Serene, her worst fear was that she would survive alone. Every single night, she told me and her father and her brothers and sisters to sleep so close and so tight to each other. She said, Mommy, so that if the rocket falls, it kills us all. No one of us survives. Every single night she asked me, Mommy, what's going to happen if I survive alone and you all die? Back in December, 17,000 children were only survivors, with no mother, with no father, with no siblings, with no family members. You can imagine how much that number has tripled. The displacement from the north to the south. At first, it began by car. Very quickly, the Israeli army prohibited us from going by cars. We had to walk 7 kilometers on foot, carrying nothing but a backpack. They asked us to raise our hands, one with a white flag and the other with our IDs, to give the worst thing was the bodies pose. Their smell was horrible. They had flies all over them and birds ate from them and they left them right there. A family of those families that were killed on Salah ad-Din Street and left to decompose were on a donkey cart. The Israeli army only, I said, how can I make my children see other children killed and thrown on the ground? When I was forced to and had no choice, we took the journey. I made them promise me that they wouldn't look anywhere, not on the ground, not to the right, not to the left, but just straight ahead. On our other side, at the end of the road, there, the Israeli soldiers pointed their guns at us. They were deployed behind sand beams, artificial ones that they made. They spoke to us from their mics, calling out certain civilians to humiliate them in front of others, or those who they suspected anything about them. We made the trip. I wasn't allowed to carry my 5-year-old Juju, so she had to walk all 7 kilometers. And I was surprised that she did. Like thousands of other children her age and younger. Every single time you watch a video from Gaza, I know your heart aches and your eyes cry, but your pain ends as that video ends. once you scroll up and watch something else, this is where your misery ends and you carry on with your life. But every single person in that video, whether it's an injured child or a child crying because his mother or father were killed, or a father crying because his children are under the rubble and he can't break them out, they continue with that pain for days and days and days. That injured child can't find a painkiller. They can't find medication. And patients in Gaza have to undergo surgeries with no anesthesia. Women in Gaza have to give birth with no anesthesia. They have to undergo C-sections without anesthesia. And they would be screaming of pain. Can you imagine that feeling? Can you imagine going through that with no painkiller to alleviate your pain? One of the doctors in Gaza had to amputate his daughter's leg to save her life with no anesthesia. Can you imagine what it is for a doctor and a parent, a father, to do so? Journalists in Gaza were targeted everywhere, every time. In our homes, in the fields, in our cars, with no mercy, with no respect to international laws or humanitarian laws or even conventions. Our press gear guaranteed us no safety or security while doing our job. When I got a threat in my home to be killed if I didn't leave instantly, my 12-year-old Aline screamed at me. She said, "They're gonna kill us because of you. They're gonna kill us because of you." Can you imagine being a parent in that situation? When you know that now the most precious people in your life are threatened just because you're a journalist trying to put out that message. The Israeli government succeeded very much in suppressing all international journalists. It declined them from entering Gaza so that they don't expose their atrocities against the Palestinians. But it lost its bet on the Palestinian journalists. It didn't imagine that Palestinian journalists would be able to go on under such immense challenges and struggles, with very little food, very little water, with all our offices being bombed from the first week of the war, being displaced from area to another. We worked on a platform like this in the yard of hospitals, from hospital to another. We installed not even a proper tent as this is. We put some plastic sheets for cover, and we sat on these grounds. We used our cell phones for everything, and we made the most proper reports for the entire world to see. And we kept going. And everybody asks me, what kept you going? It's not our professional duty or responsibility. It's the feeling of being abandoned by the entire world. The entire world abandoned us as a people. How can we abandon our people as journalists? The struggle of our people, their pain. This is what kept us going on. Until December 1st, I was right there in front of the camera every single day giving updates. And I felt this world is not moving. This world doesn't understand the tragedy that we're living in. They don't get it by our words explaining to them when we say there are dozens killed and dozens injured every single day. And it wasn't safe to move around in Gaza. But we made a deal, me and my cameraman, Mahir Abu Quta. I told him, let's go out every single day. Let's make stories for the people to see from inside the hospitals. All these reports we talk about, let's show the people what they look like in reality. So we went to the central part. We did a story about Sham and Emir, an only survivor. I spoke about the injuries of children, and that the most injuries of children, or among children in Gaza, are third-degree burns that don't even have adequate treatment or medication entering Gaza to treat their burns. The Israeli missiles that fall and bombs that destroy their homes cause third-degree burns in their vulnerable bodies with no treatment to these burns. The shrapnel of the rockets that explode, they cause so much more damage than that targeted home. Amir was 2.5 years. A neighboring home to his home was targeted. A shrapnel of that rocket, that missile that targeted the neighboring home, cut his entire leg from the pelvic. This is how bad these kind of missiles are. He was there in the ICU. If you see the ICU, it had 10 children. It's not even a normal hospital room in any other part of the world. And they will tell you it started on October 7th. They fooled you. Because the October 7th was the first Palestinian reaction towards all the war crimes and atrocities and attacks of Israel towards the Palestinian people. Because before the October 7th, for 17 years, Gaza Strip was under a lasting Israeli siege. My eldest daughter is 13 years old now. She just turned 13. She was born into a siege and lived 13 years of her life in an Israeli siege. You know what an Israeli siege means? It means that we have restrictions on movement in and out of Gaza. I moved to Gaza in 2014. I was pregnant with my third child, Aline. I moved to Gaza because my husband, after the 2014 war, got into Gaza to check on his family and was. I got into Gaza because my children, Aline and Muhammad, they were 2 years old and 3 years old. Muhammad started stumbling. He would get fevers. And the doctor said it wasn't physical, it was mental. He misses his dad. His dad suddenly disappeared. So I got into Gaza. And I thought, like any other place in the world, I would be able to come out and give birth among my family in Cairo. I registered my name for a permit to be able to come out. I was granted permit in July 2016, when Serene was 2 years old already. That is what an Israeli siege means. An Israeli siege means that people of other countries of the world can go and visit Al-Aqsa Mosque. But we Palestinians of Gaza can't until we're 60 years old. It means that if I have a family in the occupied West Bank, I can never see them and they can never come and see me. We have to find some other place to meet out of Palestine. It means that we can't be like any other family in the world and plan for a simple vacation for our children, because we don't know if we're ever going to be allowed in or out. It means that our cancer patients die every single year because we have no cancer treatment in Gaza. It means that we have no X-ray machines entering for the past 17 years because Israel considers them dual use, which means that yes, they're for civil medical use, but could be used for military use. It means that 300 items are not allowed entering into Gaza. This was all before the 7th of October, and the list goes on. And yet, children of Gaza were still happy children. They were still resilient children. They still want to go on. They still want to go back. Every single day, my children ask us the same question. When will we go back? 1 week after we evacuated Gaza, I asked my 5-year-old Juju. I said, Juju, what is the most thing that you wish for? She said, I want to go back to Gaza. And I said, but the bombs, they haven't stopped. You were so terrified of all the missiles, and there was no water, there was no food. You were always afraid. She said, it's enough. I have rested for a week. Now we can go back. They betted that as much as they made us live in misery, in despair, in fear, we would give up on our lands. We would give up on Gaza, on the West Bank, on Jerusalem. But if we did, we would have been somewhere else 76 years ago. I'm 36 now, and when I look back and I remember, it's 36 years of struggle. And any older Palestinian will think the same. Because unfortunately, every Palestinian child is born with a spoon of struggle in their mouth, just for being Palestinian. Since the year 1976, excavations have been happening under Al-Aqsa Mosque. And Palestinians in the West Bank are fighting, and Palestinians in Gaza are throwing rockets and firing rockets and saying Al-Aqsa Mosque is a red line, and yet we're not allowed to go and visit Al-Aqsa Mosque. Can you count how many years they have been? They're still ongoing until now. Is Al-Aqsa Mosque only for Palestinians? When we are the only Al-Aqsa Mosque, do not be surprised the day you wake up do not blame the Palestinians for it, because for years we have not been able to be at Al-Aqsa once, like many thousands of you around the world have. But yet, For years, we have fought for it, and our children have paid the price for standing for Al-Aqsa. But it's for the entire Muslim, like all the Muslims around the world. Al-Aqsa is not just for Palestinians to defend. And the Palestinian cause is a cause of humanity. It's the cause of human rights. You don't need to be a Palestinian. You don't need to be a Muslim. It doesn't matter what your race, your religion, or your color is. You need to be a human being to stand for Palestine. Because when you defend Palestine, you are defending humanity. You are defending your own rights as a human being. Because today, our rights are defeated. Tomorrow, your rights will be defeated too. And your silence is the worst complicity. It's the worst complicity in this genocide. Today marks 330 days. 330 days of genocide. Today marks 330 days of silence, 330 days of complicity. And I know that they have passed as years on the Palestinians in Gaza. And it's not just Gaza, it's Gaza and the West Bank and East Jerusalem. It's every Palestinian town and every Palestinian city. It's an ongoing justice that needs to end. And we can't end this alone. Because as Palestinians, we have nothing except our resilience, our resistance, and our steadfastness. But this is an occupation that aims to ethnic cleanse us, to slaughter us, slaughter our generations, and confiscate our lands. Yes, the map of Palestine has changed, and many of our lands have become cities of illegal Israeli settlements, and their names have changed from Palestinian to Hebrew. So now it's your turn to educate yourselves and your children and all the new generations about Palestine, for our heritage to continue living, for our heritage not to be forgotten. Tell them the names of the Palestinian cities in Palestinian and not in Hebrew. Tell them they're called Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's called Al-Quds. It's called Gaza. It's called Ramallah. It's called Yafa and Haifa. It's called Al-Fahm. It's called Nablus and Jenin. Tell them that hummus and falafel are Palestinian. They're not Israelis. Because this is our history, not theirs. Tell them that the kufiyya is our kufiyya, and that we tie our kufiyya like this, because this is the Palestinian way of tying a kufiyya. Tell them that our embroidery is Palestinian, and every single city and every single town in Palestine have their colors and patterns of embroidery. Teach your children about Palestine and the history of Palestine so that our legacy continues and they do not erase it. Tell them that Zayed Za'atar and Du'a are Palestinian. They're not Israeli. And there's one thing that you can do and can really make a change. You need to boycott. You need to boycott all these companies that are proudly weaponizing Israel against its genocide against the Palestinian people everywhere in Palestine. Your boycott will hurt them because these colonizer regimes, the most that hurts them is their finance being affected. And you can do that. And remember, the day that you realize that you are the majority and your word and your stance matters, that is the day we all win. Thank you.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Free, free Palestine.
Yumna, that was an amazing storytelling which humanized the Palestinian situation. I just ask for your patience, please. As he was speaking, it reminded us of our own struggles. It opened up the wounds. To this month is the month of September, the month in which Imam Harun was killed in the Maitan police cells. We call upon all of us to invoke his memory, to invoke all those who killed and who struggled in South Africa, eradicated from this earth. We are going, we've heard you, we've heard your stories. We're going to amplify it. And beyond amplifying it, we will take action. And the action that we're going to take is to ensure that we're going to march to Parliament on the 5th of October and hand over to them legislation to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. We call upon all of you to support us in that. We've got a great plan. And from now onwards till the 5th, we're going to organize. Uzair is organizing a cavalcade from Rondebosch to Sea Point on Sunday the 8th. So please join us to amplify that message. We're having an art exhibition at Desmond Tutu and an olive tree planting activity in the castle, linking Palestinian struggle and South African struggle. Every day is going to be a struggle for Palestine. Every day, every hour, every minute, every second. And we're going to mobilize, we're going to organize, and we're going to bring this to the attention of the South African legislature, the presidency, the executive, to eradicate Zionism, apartheid, and the genocide that is taking place here. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Aslam, Jackie, I'm coming to that. Please don't go away. We've got lots of food here from the generosity of the Bo-Kaap Civic Association. We thank them for their hospitality. I've left out a couple of names: the African Jews for a Free Palestine, the Salam Media, and our own media. The difference between Yumna and the mainstream media is the mainstream media, in the way they're reporting, they have lied, but they've also cast themselves in the role of prostitutes. They are stenographers for the Israeli army. They are the ventriloquist voices for the corporations in disseminating the falsehoods. And we are proud of our journalists here, and we are asking the South African Editors Forum to ensure that the accreditation of the Israeli journalists and of the mainstream media is being investigated, because killing, because you are journalists, is an international crime. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just a final word from us here at Salam Media, and this is now the final leg of the Yumna Al-Sayed tour with Salam Media across South Africa. And we've been across the length and breadth of South Africa. We've been through Botswana, and I must say it's been a revelation. We've been all around the entire country, and finally we're ending off in Cape Town and Yumna. I think from all of us at Salam Media, you've had the opportunity to visit our beautiful country. You've had the opportunity to come here. We've seen it when Dr. Mens Gilbert was here. And now, one of the highlights for us at Salam Media, the honor of having our sister Youmna El-Sayed. So Youmna, once again, on behalf of South Africa, on behalf of the people of all those that are supporting the liberation of Palestine, the activists right across the length and breadth of the country, once again, your sacrifices, Dr. Salahuddin, to thank you as well. Please, Dr. Salahuddin, if you could stand up, please. If you could stand up. Dr. Salahuddin, we thank you for coming to our shores. And once again, we hope at some point in time, we will be back as Salam Media to bring you a lot more from right across the world. But for now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
As promised.